This is a unique video, one that's for the fans, for the players, for the coaches, and for the culture. I'm here to break the sad and unfortunate news to you. The news that you don't know anything about basketball and everything you learned up to this point, it's a lie. I know, it's scary, but that's why I'm here. To hold your hand and guide you through this frightful and terrifying web of mistruths and blasphemy. So you, the guy watching his fourth video about the top 5 shifty basketball moves of all time. Pay attention. No matter how much the media tries to shove it down your throat, no matter how many times these influencers try to influence you, and no matter how many times the older, cooler 8th grader at recess says it, going one-on-one and dribbling around for an exorbitant amount of time, it's not real basketball. There, I said it. I hate fancy, over-the-top dribbling. Soon. So, as you may have guessed it from my previous videos, I despise what the online space has become for basketball. Mainly for the fact that it overcomplicates the game for the younger players that want to have success at a higher level. And I know, I'm becoming the classic old get off my lawn guy. But seriously, get off the grass. It just rained and you're making divots. But as we do so often over here on this channel, we're gonna bring some insight and make some sense of all this information out there on the interwebs so you can get to improving the right way. One of the main things we teach on this channel is that the more simple you can make the game, the better. One reason is that it makes it incredibly hard for the defense to guard you if you have a few very efficient moves and counters to those moves. Another reason is it simplifies your training a ton. If you only need to practice 2 or 3 moves and the counters to those moves, it's gonna make you a lot more efficient. And it's gonna make it far easier to make decisions at live speed when they present themselves in a game situation. That was the main emphasis of my previous video. Basically, you need to change the way you digest information and go about learning the game. I know you're probably tired of me saying the same stuff in every single video, so that's why today we brought in a special guest. Exciting, I know. So if you'll do your best and help me welcome John Johns. That can't be right. He's got 2 first names? Thanks mid-range. Thanks for having me. Now, I know what you're thinking. John Johns, that can't be a real name, can it? But do you ever question Tony from UAB? Or Fat Brooks from Michigan? What about Tennessee Rainwater from, you guessed it, Utah Tech? No, I guess not. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anywho, there's an interesting article here written by Ethan Fuller in 2022 where he looked at NBA players across the league and compared time of possession for each player. A couple of the stats that he tracked, one was how long they had the basketball in their hands, also comparing how many dribbles they take and how many basketball touches they have. Basically, it's just how often the best players in the world have the basketball in their hands in a 48-minute game. Even though this list was made back in 2022, it's still very accurate to what we see today. Take a guess at the 5 players who touch the ball most in any given game. Out of the top 5 players, Jokic is not surprisingly at the top of the list, and he's actually the only center to be on this list. In fact, he's the only center to ever be at the top of the list since they began recording this data back in 2013. He's also led this category in the past 4 years leading up to 2022, which is insane by itself. Now, if we compare that list to the list of the players that actually have the ball in their hands for the most amount of time, you'll notice something different. Comparing these 2 lists, and what is it that you notice? Yep, it's that black people love holding on to the basketball. Actually, you'll notice that Jokic, he's not even on this second list. And in fact, neither are some of the other greats. LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant. Really makes you think that holding on to the basketball for an extended period of time isn't the only thing required to be good at basketball. So, Nikola Jokic, who is widely considered as the best basketball player in the world at the moment, he only has his basketball in his hands for about 4 minutes per game out of a 48-minute game. Yeah. Even someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's only got the basketball in his hands about 7 minutes per game out of a 40-minute game. That should be eye-opening to everyone as he's the primary ball handler for his team. Anyways, I'm just here to report on interesting data, and also I'm here for the free donuts. So yeah, back to you in the studio, mid-range. It's not a studio, it's a house. Okay. What this data shows me is that it just reinforces the idea that most people don't know what good basketball actually is. James Harden with his 13 dribbles to the basket, it's certainly entertaining to see. And Trae Young, dominating the ball for hours, I could personally watch for days. But this doesn't directly translate to wins and success on a team scale. Nikola Jokic, who has zero fancy, cool, elite crossovers, manages to generate player movement, ball movement, and tons of scoring opportunities for his team. Meanwhile, he also gets the ball thrown to him more than any other player. One of these things is entertainment focused. The other is Nikola Jokic dominating a league full of freak athletes for the better part of a decade. The simple detail that he gets more basketball touches than anyone else in the league, while not holding on to the ball for long stretches and going ISO, should be an alarm bell for all of those of you out there promoting and practicing individual one-on-one basketball. You're doing it wrong, and you're holding yourself and other players back. If you want your team to throw you the ball, you have to be able to make quick decisions. And the more quick decisions you can make that lead to valuable outcomes for your team, the more they're going to throw you the ball. It's simple geometry. Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he has the ball in his hands for almost twice as long as Jokic, but he is the primary ball handler for his team, whereas Jokic is not. We did a video previously about how he still efficiently gets to his spots, but even for a player like this who is very ball dominant and controls the pace better than nearly anyone in the history of the game, he still only holds the ball for 10% or less of an entire NBA 48-minute game. That means no matter what league or level or role you play on your team, you should just plan to have the ball in your hands far less than the two best players on the entire planet. Steph Curry talks about making 0.5-second decisions.
You held the ball for 1 second, that's a grenade and it blew up and you're done. Think about that. I need 0.5 seconds to make a decision, and that's when you start to get the dominoes to fall.
It's exactly why someone at his size has been able to dominate the league for so long. I've said it many times on the channel, but great players make you guard them multiple times per possession. They make so many quick decisions that as a defender, it's incredibly difficult to keep up with, to constantly guess correctly, or anticipate what move they're going to make next. If you're a shooter, then you should be catching the ball and being ready to shoot in less than 0.5 seconds. However, if the defender is sprinting at you full speed to deter your shot, then you should be catching, ready to blow by the defender in that same 0.5 seconds. Both of these moves on the catch should look the same to the defender, but if you guess correctly, they should have zero chance of shutting you down. This is what it means to be an efficient decision maker. Even if you're not a shooter, the speed at which you catch the ball and swing it to the next player can still make you incredibly difficult to guard. For example, the first time that you catch the ball at the top of the key, you swing it as quick as possible and then you cut to the basket. Then the next time you receive a pass, you might catch it and then pass fake and drive to the basket instead. Playing at this pace is extremely hard to guard by itself, but especially once you start to combine quick passes, quick drives, and quick fakes. These are all simple moves to execute, but they take a lot of IQ and effort from the defense to consistently shut down. Even the best defenders in the world will sometimes guess wrong. So the more times that you can make them make 0.5-second decisions, the better chance you're going to give yourself to be successful. Okay, that was a lot of talking to basically say, keep it simple, stupid. All you really need to be successful as a player is to think about what your strengths are. Then think about the areas on the floor where you can utilize those strengths the most. So when you're putting together a practice plan, spend your time in those areas repping out ways to score utilizing your strengths, then come up with a counter if the defense overplays or takes that strength away. I kid you not, this is exactly how I develop practice plans for advanced players and beginner players alike. The only difference between the two practice plans, with an advanced player, I might just practice 2 or 3 different spots in one session, but the fundamentals are all basically the same. I first learned of this concept accidentally when I was in college, when my college coach said to me, what's your go-to move? I remember sitting there for a second thinking, aren't you supposed to teach me a move? I tried like 4 or 5 different crossovers or moves and none of them felt right, and I was just in my head the whole session and pretty much wasted that whole coaching session. But then when I got home, I was thinking about it the whole time. I thought about it a lot more and I realized my go-to move, it's catching and shooting. That's it. It wasn't flashy. It's not going to get me on Sports Center, didn't get me the hottest girl in school, but it did get me a lot of scoring opportunities. On the court, of course. So that's what I practiced, catching and shooting. Then when the defense overplayed, I had a counter for that. My entire senior season of college ended up being built off of this very concept. Catch and shoot, catch and drive, catch and shot fake, catch and jab step, all of that. I really wish I had learned this earlier in my career. That combined with the fact that the best players in the world only have the basketball in their hands for a very small percentage of the game, I probably would have spent way less time practicing all those and one mixtape crossovers in my garage. No, who am I kidding? Those moves were cool as heck. No regrets whatsoever. But that's basically what I wanted to cover in this video. You should think less about the times where you have the basketball in your hands in games and more times when you don't. Think more about how to receive the ball in advantageous situations and how to make quick, efficient decisions for your team. Sometimes just being a ball mover and a screener is good enough to get you 10 points a game. It also has the added benefit of making sure your teammates and your coach want you on the court more often than not. These are invaluable skills that will take you much further than 17 different crossovers will. Find a couple go-to moves and counters, make the defense guard you multiple times per possession, then profit. Keep it simple. You won't have the basketball in your hands for very long, so stop practicing like you are. Continue making 0.5-second decisions. As always, I want to thank the Patreon members. We have over 1,000 free members now, which is insane, but especially the paid members who you guys pay to keep the lights on. You get access to our Discord community, and you know I love you guys. Oh, and King Butch. Hope you're keeping an eye out for our newest member, Devin. Here he's a handful. Go ahead and just lock him up with the other rascally YouTube members. Anyways, take care, guys. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. No, seriously, where are we at with those donuts?